Welcome to the Prescott Lab Podcast, not just theory, practical science for everyone. I'm Dr. Jonathan Prescott, a physician and integrative medicine researcher at the Ravenshade Institute for Human Health. Men over 60, listen closely. If you open your eyes in the morning and your manhood feels silent, if that natural strength you once trusted has faded, I want you to hear this. Your body is not broken. Your erections are not gone forever. They have only gone quiet, and like a room whose lights haven't been switched on for years, they can be awakened again. I have spent more than 3 decades sitting across from men who believed their prime was over, men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s, only to watch them rediscover vitality without risky drugs, without surgery, and without shame. Their secret was not in a pill bottle, but in their own bodies, their breath, their hands, and a few overlooked switches built into their physiology. And that is exactly what we'll uncover today. I'll show you 3 hidden points on your body that act like natural switches, capable of restoring blood flow, sensitivity, and morning strength you thought was lost. Before we begin, do me a favor. If this message speaks to you, hit the like button so more men can find it. In the comments, type 1 if you're ready to reclaim your mornings, or 0 if you're still skeptical. I read every response. And if you haven't already, subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you'll never miss the next step toward restoring your health and confidence. Now let's begin with the first truth every man over 60 needs to hear about aging and erections. The truth about aging and erections. Gentlemen, let me tell you something I wish every man over 60 could hear from his doctor. The loss of morning erections is not proof that you are broken, damaged, or finished. It is not your body's way of saying you're too old now. The truth is far simpler and far more hopeful. Your nerves are still alive. Your blood vessels are still capable. Your manhood is still there, waiting for the right signal. What has really happened is that over the years, the circuits have grown quiet. The switches that once flipped on so easily are now resting. Think of it like a room in your home you stopped visiting. The power is still there. The lights still work. But because no one has flipped the switch in years, the room stays dark. That doesn't mean the electricity is gone. It means the connection hasn't been made. Erections work the same way. The current is still in your body, you simply haven't turned it on. I remember Harold, 74, who came to me with tears in his eyes. He said, "Doc, I don't even care about sex anymore. I just want to wake up one morning and feel alive again." Those words struck me because they revealed the deeper truth. Men don't only crave erections. They crave dignity, vitality, the quiet confidence of knowing their body still responds. Within a few weeks of practicing what I'll show you in this very session, Harold called me, his voice trembling with emotion. "Doc, it happened. I woke up this morning and for the first time in 10 years, I felt like myself again." That is the truth about aging and erections. They don't vanish because you've grown old. They fade because the signals were never kept alive. But the hope, the undeniable, powerful hope, is this: those pathways can be reawakened. They are waiting inside you right now, ready to respond the moment you remind them. And that is where things become truly exciting. Because the first step to reawakening those signals lies in a hidden point on your own body, a place most men have ignored their entire lives. Yet it holds the power to stir what you thought was gone. The first point, above the pubic bone. Gentlemen, the first hidden switch lies in a place most men overlook every single day, just above the pubic bone, that small stretch of lower abdomen where the belly meets the pelvis. To most men, it's nothing but skin and bone, but in truth, it is one of the most powerful command centers of male vitality. Why? Because beneath this quiet surface runs a crossroads of vessels and nerves that feed directly into your lower organs. When you ignore it, those vessels stiffen, the signals grow faint, and the pathways begin to fall asleep. But when you stimulate it with patience, with breath, with awareness, something remarkable happens. You quite literally remind your body to wake up. I think of Walter, 67, who walked into my office carrying the heavy look of defeat. "Doc," he said, "I think I've lost it. I haven't woken up strong in years." His voice was flat, his eyes dim, like a man who had already buried that part of himself, so I guided him. I placed his hand on that very spot just above the pubic bone and asked him to breathe deeply into it, not forceful, not hurried, just presence. Inhale slowly through the nose, let the belly expand, press gently, then exhale. Within minutes, something shifted, his posture changed, his eyes widened. A faint warmth stirred where he thought nothing would ever return. He looked up at me and, for the first time in our conversation, smiled. 2 weeks later, Walter returned, his face brighter. "Doc," he said, "every morning I feel something again. It's not like I'm 20, but it's alive. I thought it was gone forever, but it's coming back." That is the power of this point, and it's not magic, it's biology. When you press just above the pubic bone with steady, mindful pressure, you're engaging a network of deep pelvic vessels and lower abdominal nerves. Over time, if they are never stimulated, they grow dormant, much like a muscle that weakens when never used. But with touch and breath, blood returns, nerve signals fire, and circulation flows again. Think of it as knocking gently on a door that has been shut too long. Knock with consistency and the door opens. Here's how I teach men to practice it at home. Step 1, lie down comfortably, knees slightly bent. Step 2, place your fingertips just above the pubic bone. Step 3, apply gentle, steady pressure, not digging, not poking, but firm presence. Step 4, inhale slowly into your belly, hold for a moment, then exhale deeply. Repeat this for 3-5 minutes once or twice a day. At first, you may only feel warmth or tingling. Over time, those sensations grow into circulation, sensitivity, and eventually natural morning responses. And let me stress this practice is not about forcing an erection in the moment. It's about re-establishing communication between you and your own body. When you treat your body with patience instead of frustration, your nervous system listens. And when it listens, strength returns naturally. Many men I've worked with tell me that this simple daily act gave them not only physical results, but also something deeper, dignity. The quiet knowledge that their body is still alive, still capable, still theirs. But as powerful as this first point is, it is only the beginning. It's because there is another hidden switch, one almost no man ever thinks to touch, lying in a place most ignore, yet holding extraordinary power to unlock blood flow and sensation. And once you discover it, you may realize your body still has far more to give than you ever imagined. The second point, the perineum between anus and scrotum. Gentlemen, the second hidden switch lies in a place most men have never given a second thought. The perineum, that soft stretch of tissue between the anus and the scrotum. In everyday life, you probably ignore it completely. In polite conversation, it's never mentioned. And yet, this small space is one of the most powerful gateways to male circulation and sensitivity. In Eastern traditions, healers have known of this point for thousands of years. They call it CV1, the root, the foundation. In Western medicine, it is rarely discussed, almost forgotten, and that silence has cost men dearly because this spot acts like a valve, a regulator of blood and nerve signals flowing into the pelvis. When it's ignored, tension builds, vessels tighten, nerve pathways weaken, and the body slowly forgets how to send energy where it matters most. I remember Thomas, 71 years old, a Marine veteran whose presence still carried the discipline of his service. He came to me one day and said, "Doc, it's like the lights went out down there. I don't feel anything anymore, not in the mornings, not at night, just nothing." I guided him gently. I asked him to sit on a small rolled towel, placing it right beneath the perineum. "No forcing, no strain," I said. "Just breathe, sit quietly, let your weight rest there, and pay attention." Within minutes, Thomas's eyes changed. He blinked, shifted slightly, and whispered, "Doc, I feel something, a pulse. It's faint, but it's there." That flicker of awareness was the beginning. In the days that followed, he repeated the practice at home, 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes at night. Within weeks, he called me, his voice carrying a spark of pride. "Doc, I don't wake up empty anymore. There's warmth, there's life." I thought it was gone forever. But it's coming back. Why does this happen? The science is simple. Running beneath the perineum are critical nerves and blood vessels that control pelvic circulation and sensation. Years of sitting, stress, or neglect can cause those tissues to tighten like a closed valve. When you apply gentle pressure with breath and relaxation, the valve releases. Blood trapped for years begins to move again. Nerve signals reconnect, sending messages to the brain that had grown silent. The result: a slow but steady return of sensitivity, warmth, and natural erections. Here's how you can practice it safely. Step 1. Sit comfortably on a firm chair. Place a small, soft cushion or rolled towel under the perineum. Step 2. Let your weight rest gently on it. Do not force. You should feel pressure, not pain. Step 3. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. Inhale through the nose, let your belly expand, then exhale slowly through the mouth. Step 4. As you breathe, imagine the pressure unlocking a valve, letting blood and energy flow freely through your lower body. Stay for 3-5 minutes. At first, you may only notice subtle warmth or a faint pulsing. That is enough. With repetition, those faint stirrings grow stronger. And beyond the physical, something else awakens: hope. Once a man feels even the smallest sign of life in a place he thought was gone, his mind shifts. He no longer believes he is broken. He begins to trust his body again, and that trust is the soil from which strength, intimacy, and confidence grow. I often remind my patients, this practice is not about forcing yourself hard. It is about reminding your body of its own pathways, re-establishing communication that time, stress, and silence had muted. And when that communication returns, so does your manhood, steady, natural, alive. Thomas is not an exception. He is proof that even after 70, the body can surprise you. But this journey does not stop here, because there is still another hidden switch. One most men never connect to their manhood at all. A pathway running along the inner thighs, carrying both blood and nerve signals. And when you learn to awaken it, the results can be extraordinary. The third point: inner thigh line, femoral pathway. Gentlemen, the third hidden switch may surprise you because it isn't even on your groin. It runs along your inner thighs, the crease where your leg meets the lower abdomen. Beneath this soft line lies one of the most overlooked highways of male vitality: the femoral artery and the femoral nerve. Together, they are the main pipelines that carry blood and sensation to your manhood. And yet, most men never give this area a thought. To them, the thighs are just for walking, climbing stairs, hauling the body through life. But to ignore the inner thigh line is to ignore one of the most direct routes to restoring circulation and sensitivity. I think of Earl, 68 years old, a truck driver who had spent 4 decades behind the wheel. His body was stiff, his lower half nearly numb from years of sitting. When he came to me, he said, "Doc, I thought my thighs were just for hauling me around. I never once imagined they had anything to do with what happens in the bedroom." So I guided him. I asked him to lie down and trace his fingertips gently along the inner crease of his thighs from groin downward, pausing at tender or tight spots. "Don't rush," I told him. "Breathe into those points. Apply gentle, steady pressure, not force. Let the nerves wake up." At first, Earl scoffed. "Doc, this feels strange, pointless." But he trusted me enough to keep at it. Within a week, he noticed something: a subtle warmth in his pelvis, a faint sense that blood was moving again. By the second week, he called me, his voice carrying both shock and joy. "Doc, I'm waking up with strength I haven't felt in years." Then he added something that made me pause. "I don't just feel it down there, I feel more like a man again." That is the power of the inner thigh line. It doesn't just restore blood flow, it restores dignity, control, and the quiet confidence of knowing your body is still alive. Here's the science. The femoral artery is one of the largest vessels in the body, a direct pipeline feeding the pelvis and genitals. Over time, long hours of sitting, lack of movement, and stiff muscles compress this artery, restricting blood flow. The femoral nerve running alongside is one of the main carriers of sensation from the lower body. When this pathway is tight, signals weaken. No pill on earth can fully compensate for that blockage. But when you apply pressure, massage, and mindful breathing into the inner thigh line, you release tension, soften the tissues, and open the road again. Blood surges more freely. Nerve signals reconnect. Your body remembers. Here's how I teach it. Step 1, sit or lie comfortably. Bend one knee slightly outward. Step 2, with your fingertips or the palm of your hand, trace the inner crease where thigh meets lower abdomen. Step 3, pause at any sore, tender, or tight spots. Apply gentle, steady pressure, never pain. Step 4, as you press, breathe deeply. Inhale into your belly, exhale slowly, allowing warmth and relaxation to spread. Step 5, repeat for 3-5 minutes on each side, once or twice daily. Many men tell me that after a few sessions, they not only wake up stronger, but also sleep more deeply and walk with more energy. That's because when the femoral pathway reopens, circulation improves not just for your manhood, but for your legs, hips, and core. The whole lower body begins to feel alive again. I often say, awakening the inner thigh line is like unlocking a gate that had been rusted shut. At first, it creaks. Then with patience, it swings open wide, and behind that gate is the vitality you thought had been stolen by age. Now you know all 3 points, the pubic bone, the perineum, and the inner thigh line. Each one is powerful on its own. But when combined, they create a circuit, a system that reawakens blood flow, restores sensitivity, and brings back natural strength. But pressing these points is only half the story. To turn a spark into a flame, you need the daily habits that keep those pathways alive. And that, gentlemen, is what we will uncover next. Why these points work, science made simple. Gentlemen, by now you may be asking yourself, why do these 3 points, the pubic bone, the perineum, and the inner thigh line, matter so much? Why would pressing, breathing, and paying attention to such small areas bring back something as complex as an erection? The answer is not magic. It is not mysticism. It is biology, simple, elegant biology. Think of your body as a city. The arteries are highways, carrying traffic in the form of blood. The nerves are power lines transmitting the current that lights up the city. As long as the roads are open and the lines are connected, the city thrives. Cars move, lights glow, life continues. But what happens when a highway is blocked by years of neglect, by too much sitting, by hardened vessels, traffic jams? The cars cannot reach their destination. What happens when the power lines fray from stress and disuse? The lights flicker and eventually go dark. The city itself is still alive, but its systems are failing to connect. That is exactly what happens in the male body with age. The current is still there, the blood is still there, the nerves still exist, but the pathways have grown rusty, blocked, unused. Now imagine flipping a switch. Imagine clearing debris from a road. Suddenly the cars can flow again, the lights come back on, the city awakens. That is what these 3 points do. The point above the pubic bone reawakens circulation deep in the pelvis, sending blood where it has been absent for too long. The perineum acts like a valve. Once pressure and breath release it, blood trapped for years surges freely again and nerve pathways reconnect. The inner thigh line opens the main highway, allowing the femoral artery and nerve to deliver life straight to the manhood. Science confirms this. When blood flow increases, nitric oxide is released. Vessels expand, sensitivity returns. When nerves are reawakened, the brain sends stronger signals and the penis responds almost immediately. You don't need to fight your body. You don't need to drug it or punish it. You need only to remind it of the pathways it already knows. I think of Leonard, 69, who once told me, "Doc, I don't even care about sex anymore. I just want to know my body can still answer me." After practicing these points, he called me one morning, his voice trembling with joy. It happened. I woke up hard, no pills, no tricks, just me. That joy was not just about an erection. It was about dignity, confidence, and relief, the profound knowledge that his body still belonged to him. And yet, here is the key. Pressing these points is powerful, yes, but they are like flipping a light switch in an old house. If the wiring is corroded, the lights may flicker and fade again. To make the change last, to keep the current flowing day after day, you need a strong foundation. That foundation comes not from a single moment, but from small daily habits that keep the roads clear, the wires strong, the circuits alive. And those habits, 5 of them, simple yet transformative, are what we will uncover next. The supporting habits, 5 daily boosters. Gentlemen, now that you know the 3 hidden points, let me tell you the truth that separates short-term sparks from lasting fire: consistency. Pressing those points can flip the lights back on, yes. But if the wiring of your house is weak, the lights will flicker out again. To make the change last, to keep your body awake every morning, you need a foundation. That foundation is built not in hours at the gym or in bottles of pills, but in 5 simple daily habits. Small acts often dismissed, yet they multiply the results tenfold. 1. Deep belly breathing. Most men breathe shallow without realizing it, quick, tight breaths that starve the body of oxygen and keep blood vessels constricted. But when you breathe deeply, slowly into the belly, you activate nitric oxide in the lining of your blood vessels. This expands circulation and lowers stress hormones. I've seen men lower their blood pressure and regain morning strength with nothing more than 5 minutes a day of mindful breathing. Inhale through the nose for 4 seconds, let the belly rise, hold for a moment, then exhale through the mouth for 6. Do it once in the morning, once before bed. It costs nothing, yet it restores everything. 2. Hydration with warm water. After a long night of sleep, your blood thickens. Thick blood moves sluggishly, especially to the smallest vessels of your manhood. By drinking a glass of warm water first thing in the morning, you thin the blood gently and set circulation in motion. One of my patients, 72, laughed when I suggested it. "Doc, how can warm water help?" A month later, he admitted he felt lighter, warmer, and yes, harder in the mornings. Small change, powerful effect. 3. Reducing evening sugar. I know the comfort of dessert after dinner, but sugar quietly damages the lining of your blood vessels, stiffening them like old pipes. Every evening indulgence makes it harder for arteries to recover overnight. I've watched men who cut out their nightly ice cream notice fuller morning erections within weeks. Why? Because their vessels could finally heal in the hours of rest instead of fighting against sugar's silent attack. Gentlemen, if you want your body to answer you in the morning, don't sabotage it at night. 4. Gentle evening walks. You don't need marathons. You don't need iron weights. What you need is movement. A 10-minute walk after dinner activates your body's natural venous pump, the mechanism that pushes blood evenly back through the lower body. I tell my patients, don't think of it as exercise. Think of it as opening the gates before the night begins. That simple walk not only improves circulation but calms the mind, aids digestion, and sets the stage for deep sleep, all crucial for natural erections. 5. Respectful touch and intention. This may be the most overlooked of all. If you approach the 3 points with frustration, jabbing, rushing, demanding results, your nervous system resists. But when you touch with patience, with presence, with respect, the body listens. It may sound poetic, but it's neuroscience. The parasympathetic system, the rest and restore mode, is activated by calm, intentional touch. And that is the very state in which erections thrive. Many men tell me this practice didn't just restore strength, it restored dignity, the quiet knowledge that their body was still worthy of care. Together, these 5 habits transform the 3 points from quick sparks into lasting fire. They keep the pathways clear, the nerves awake, the blood moving. They tell your body every day, I still value you, I still trust you, I will not abandon you. And when that message is repeated day after day, the results don't fade, they grow. But if you still wonder whether all of this is truly possible, let me share with you what convinces even the most skeptical men. The real stories. Stories of men who thought they were finished, only to discover they still had far more life inside them than they ever imagined. Gentlemen, whenever I share these methods, I know some men listen with quiet doubt. They nod politely but inside think, "That sounds good, doc, but will it really work for me?" I understand that skepticism because I have seen it in the eyes of countless men who sat across from me. They were convinced their best days were behind them, and yet again and again I have witnessed what happens when they give their body a chance to answer. Take Harold, 74, a retired postal worker. He came to me tired, worn down by years of trying every pill and powder he could find. He said, "Doc, I don't need to feel 20 again. I just want to wake up one morning and know I still matter." 3 weeks after practicing the 3 points, Harold called me. His voice trembled as he said, "It happened. I woke up hard this morning, no pills, just me." The joy in his voice told me everything. It wasn't only about an erection. It was about dignity, relief, and the deep knowledge that his body was still alive. Then there was Leonard, 69, who confessed he no longer cared much for sex. "I only want to know my body can still respond," he whispered. He began the practice with little faith, but soon warmth and sensation returned. One morning he sent me a message, "Doc, I know now I'm not finished. I still have life left in me." That simple flicker of response changed the way he carried himself. His back straightened. His eyes shone, confidence returned, and Earl, the truck driver who had spent decades behind the wheel, stiff and disconnected from his lower body. By awakening the inner thigh line, he didn't just regain erections. He found energy in his legs, calm in his mornings, and a renewed sense of control. He told me, "Doc, I feel more like a man again." These stories are not miracles, they are reminders. Reminders that your body is not finished. That the spark you thought was gone is still waiting inside you, ready to return the moment you give it attention. But here's the final lesson: change does not come from trying something once. It does not come from pressing a point for a few minutes and expecting magic. Real change comes from consistency, from showing up every day with patience and purpose. That is how a spark becomes a flame. That is how a flame becomes steady light. And that is how a man reclaims what he thought was lost forever. This is not about chasing youth. It is not about pretending to be 25 again. It is about stepping into this season of life with strength, dignity, and confidence. It is about saying to your body, "I still believe in you. I will not give up on you." Gentlemen, as we close, let me leave you with this truth: you are not broken, your body is not finished, your manhood is not gone, the power you seek is already inside you, waiting to be awakened. So tonight or tomorrow morning, begin, press the points, breathe deeply, walk lightly, drink water. Show up for yourself. Because once you do, you will discover what countless men before you have found, that your prime is not behind you. It is alive right now, ready to return the moment you claim it. And when you do, you won't just wake up harder. You'll wake up prouder, calmer, stronger, and more connected to the man you truly are.